Hey guys, today I'm out at the LA Auto Show and Kia has brought along the refreshed EV6. This is not news, I guess you'd say, because we have seen the refreshed EV6 in South Korea before, but now we're finally seeing it in the US, and the biggest change, of course, up front has to be the new headlight module. Let me know what you think about this design. I am a little bit unsure about how I feel. It looks kind of like a crab claw to me right there on each side, so sort of like a little crabby design. But it is definitely distinctive, and it borrows some of the styling cues from the larger EV9, most notably these DRLs with the little triangle end there. I'll let Martin pan out here so that way he can see the entire front end, because that line continues all the way across with this illuminated bar, a version of the Tiger Nose grille that we've seen in Kias for a while. Of course, the front view camera right there and well-integrated parking sensors. And depending on the trim level of EV6 that you get, obviously there are going to be some changes down here on the lower bumper. But format-wise, this is the same EV6 that we've seen for a while from Kia. So the size of this is about the same. It's based on the same eGMP platform that underpins the Ioniq 6 and Ioniq 5, but has a very distinct style all to its own. It certainly is more coupe-like, I guess you could say, than the Ioniq 5 for sure, but less sedan-like than the Ioniq 6. Big difference between this and the Ioniq 5 happens right back here, where we find the greenhouse really pinching in at the top, which gives us this really exaggerated hip. And that's going to be obvious as you come on to the rear, where we really see that more aggressive styling to the body than we find in the Ioniq 5. And that's why this is more efficient, because it's more aerodynamic. We get those smoother lines coming across to the rear. Now in the back, the big change versus before is that charge door used to be over there. Now it has actually moved over here to the Tesla side of things, because we have the J3400 charge port. That is going to be on every EV6 except for the EV6 GT, which is actually going to get the charge door on the other side, the same side it was on before. I don't know exactly why they bothered to update it here and not over there on that other model, except that the EV6 GT is going to still be built in South Korea. However, the EV9, that is going to get the updated charge port in every model, including the GT. So just a little bit of differentiation between the product lines. I have to admit, if I were to have a charge door in the back, I would rather it was on the passenger side, because along with the new charging standard, in North America, we're gonna start seeing more curbside charging, more light pole charging, more bring your own cable charging, and it's actually a lot safer to have it over here on the curb side of the vehicle. So if you're parallel parking and you're plugging into a parallel parking style charging port, it's not going to be hanging out in traffic, and the position that we find in Teslas, and of course now the EV6, the charge cord is going to be hanging out in traffic. We have the same lid in a lid style front trunk storage area that we found before, so no changes like we find in some of the other vehicles, but way down the rabbit hole we do find some important changes. We find new battery packs, bigger battery packs for both the standard range model and the extended range model. That will give you nearly 320 miles of combined EPA range if you get the 84 kilowatt hour battery pack. That 84 kilowatt hour battery pack, of course, is the same one that we find yet again in the Hyundai lineup, but now it's being applied to the sleeker format. I am a little bit surprised that we don't find even more range with that bigger battery pack than we found before, but it could have to do with just the way that Kia is doing their EPA testing. Let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. Now, for those of you that have been watching for a while, you may remember that I bought an EV6 GT. It was one of our long-term test vehicles for about a year, and I really fell in love with it. And one of the reasons was the interior. It's really, really comfortable. I actually found it significantly more comfortable than the Mach-E, but there were a few things I didn't like about it. Most notably, the touchscreen control panel that's right here. Unfortunately, this model does not have a key in it, so I cannot show you that. That remains. That actually was the one thing I didn't care for. The other thing that was a bit controversial was we had some touch buttons over here for things like the ventilated seats and heated seats, and as I was touching options up here, I found myself occasionally touching those options with my hand. We now have physical buttons there. I think that may make usability a little bit better. This particular model is the GT line trim, so we get some updated finishes inside and outside. We have leather seats, of course, sorry, imitation leather seats here, perforated, ventilated, two-tone design going on there, new textures on the center console and on the dash. So if you come up here to the center console, you can see this is kind of a really interesting textury kind of, I'm not sure what that is actually, imitation leather, something with Chrissy crosses. We find the same thing over here on the dashboard, of course, with the GT line logo. Also, I can't show you this, but you can check out some of our other videos, but we get the updated infotainment system from the rest of the Kia lineup with new graphics, updated navigation that's going to do better EV charge routing, over-the-air updates, the phone as key functionality, so you no longer have to have the key fob with you, and of course wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto as well. The steering wheel, that's one of the things that I wasn't sure if it needed to change, but if we go in for a slightly closer look, you can see that the design is decidedly unusual. It's kind of the squircle thing that we've seen in other Kia models, two-tone design. It's really, really comfortable to hold, but visually I'm not the biggest fan of this particular airbag cover shape right there. New Kia logo, of course, and the regen paddles on the back of the steering wheel. As far as regen paddles go, I think that Hyundai and Kia do them the best because you can adjust the level of throttle liftoff regen you get with those paddles, and there's even an auto mode that uses the radar sensor to know what's going on. Drive mode button, that's over here. Shifter, that's the rotary style shifter over here with reverse and drive on opposite ends of that toggle. Park is the middle button. We get a big wireless charger mat there, big cup holders, and lots of storage under that center console. The sunroof, that is still a pretty standard size opening sunroof. So if you don't want a big glass panel and you'd rather have a regular one that opens up, you might want to go for this. On the other hand, if you want headroom, you might not, because check this out. I have, maybe about 3/4 of an inch of headroom left. And if I really moved this seat to a position where I would prefer sitting slightly more upright, my hair is basically brushing the ceiling. That is one downside to the EV6. If you're a taller driver, your only real option is to sit really quite reclined. We do, however, have a powered tilt telescopic steering column that is memory linked, so if you have a family of short and tall drivers, you may be able to find that this will work for everybody, even if you have to sit in that more reclined position. Let's go ahead and check out the back seats. This is another area where the Ioniq 5 is a bit roomier because not only do we get less headroom, the side sill here curves in because of that more boat-tailed design on the outside. Headroom, it's still reasonable. It just isn't as roomy as you might expect given the exterior dimensions. Lots of legroom, however, tons and tons of legroom, and of course that classic completely flat floor in the rear. Moving all the way around to the cargo area, you will notice, of course, the other area where the EV6 is a little bit less practical than some of those boxy options. It's because, again, of that particular profile. So we get more of an angled hatch in the back. I do like this overall, and we were able to fit almost as much cargo in here as we were in the Mustang Mach-E that we had at the same time. They have not updated the cargo area back here. So we still have the tire mobility kit, you'll still find the subwoofer down there, and we still have modules that I think could have been rearranged just a little bit better to give you maybe a touch more cargo room. Hey look, we found the key, and speaking of keys, it is a slightly updated version of the one that the EV6 had before, with the buttons still on the side there, and what kind of looks like Formica countertop on each side. That definitely is a more durable design than we find in the Ioniqs with that very exaggerated egg-shaped H key. But big thing I got the keys for is to show you the updated infotainment system. We have now gaming on this one. Of course, Kia activation required, so I can't actually show you that one, unfortunately. Let's go ahead and see if we can cancel out of that one. But you can see the new software here with the updated features like weather, HD radio, the built-in nav system, sounds of nature. The mapping system is now going to be better at EV routing. Let's go ahead and give that a try. Let's see if I can choose a destination in here and see what the car thinks we should do as far as charging. And it's going to recommend charging. We have to hit the search button. So this is still not quite as easy to use as some of the manufacturers' EV charge routing. I will say there are still some things that Kia could do, but this is now over-the-air updatable completely. And then of course we get the updated instrument cluster on that other side. A few adjustable themes are available, but the basic features remain the same. The bigger thing I should show you down here, of course, is this display that I mentioned earlier, and here is the core problem. In one mode, it is automatic climate control and some of those other features there. In the other mode, it becomes direct access buttons for the infotainment system and a power, volume, and tune knob. And regardless of what you're doing in the system, I think you will find you will always be on the wrong option. Be sure and sound off in the comments section. Let me know what you think of the updated EV6. Did Kia do enough? Should they have extended the range even further? I think it would have been kind of cool to see the 99.8 kilowatt hour battery pack out of the EV9 somehow shoehorned into the EV6. Maybe it wouldn't have actually fit, but that could have been cool. An EV6 with 400 miles of range would have been absolutely amazing. But as it is, the range figures are solid because the EV6 charges really, really quickly. And that's always been the party trick with this EV. It's not just the slightly over 20-minute time from 10% to 80% charge, it's the fact that you can go from 0 to 100% full and another 320 miles of range in the same time that it would take a Ford Mustang Mach-E to just go 10% to 80%. So yes, the 10% to 80% charge time is absolutely fantastic, but I think the more impressive thing is how long it would take to get completely full. And that's significantly less time than in the vast majority of EVs out there. Even a Tesla Model 3, even a Tesla Model Y, it will not charge this quickly all the way from dead all the way to completely full. So on those longer road trips, this is quite simply easier to live with. Let me know what you think about that, and of course stay tuned because hopefully another drive review of the updated model is coming soon. See all of you later.